Hello, everybody, and welcome in to the Penny Bloom podcast. And today we continue a very special project, a very special day on the pod. A week ahead of the Oscars here, we are celebrating film in the year 2023. What a year it was. And today we are discussing our top 23 films of 2023. I chose the number 23
Hmm.
because of the year.
Wow.
Very clever.
It's just clicking
Gotta be
now. That's
gotta
insane.
be thinking about it, man. You gotta think smarter, you
Mhm.
know? That's it. That's all. No, I'm just playing. I'm Colton Robertson. I'm joined by Joseph George. What's up, homie?
Oh, what up, what up? Always a pleasure to be here.
Oh, and it's always a pleasure to have you. And what a slate of movies we've got coming today.
Mm.
We're doing 23 each, top 23 each. And I know it sounds daunting. It sounds like a lot, but I promise we're going to get through it. We're going to get going. We're
Yeah.
not spending too much time on each movie. We're hoping to get you in, get you out, and everybody's happy.
Mhm.
We're just here to celebrate the movies we love from a wonderful year. So, with that, would you like to kick us off
Yeah.
with the 23 spot
I,
on
g-
your 2023
I
list?
guess I shall. I will. This has been an eye-opening, at least for me. The difference between last year and this year is quite apparent. I don't know if I have a list of my all my 2022 movies. I guess I'm
Mm,
2 years ago now. I'm operating under the Academy year, kind of.
yeah, yeah,
Um,
the Academy
but
calendar, yeah.
But it is, I have the superhero movies were like the only ones that I would go to a theater for, like go out of my way to watch. And now in my top 10, I don't even have a single one, which is like actually kind of nuts. That not a single comic book movie
Yeah,
makes it up there. But
this will be a comic book movie list for me. I
okay.
don't have a single one in my 23,
I do
let
still
alone
have
my
some.
top 10.
I do still have
One
some.
got kicked out at my last edition, the last one I watched. So for those who are not in the know, um, we recorded our awards 2 days ago. We recorded our awards 2 days ago. No, 3 days ago now. Goddamn. Um, and
Mm-hmm.
we've had a little extra time. Go ahead and get any last little 2023 ones in under the wire, and I managed to get one more that I didn't even realize I needed to see, but
Hmm.
it climbed up my list. So with that, if you are ready, we can go ahead and get rolling. If you'd like to present, do you want to go back and forth? Do you want to go 23-23, or do you want to just go 23 to 11 and then I go 23 to 11?
I think it could be cool. A little back and forth action could be kind of
Let's
sick.
do a little back and
Just to
forth.
see.
So, you go ahead and get us rolling with your 23.
All right. Well, 23 kind of didn't mean to make it this way, but it kind of worked out. This is where I have Air, the Michael Jordan movie.
Mm,
So it kind of 23, kind of perfect there. His number. I was 23 years old also this year. It kind of felt like it was my
perfect.
goat
It was the
year.
Jordan year.
Yeah, the Jordan year, the LeBron year, whoever you want to go with there. But no, this, very, very of my movies. You have a larger selection um, to choose from. So I think the difference between like our bottom is going to be quite big.
It's gonna be interesting.
But
Air ends up falling in the bottom half of the 69 movies I watched from 2023.
Mhm.
Um,
Yeah, I got.
However, I still enjoyed that movie a great deal. I did enjoy that
Mhm.
movie a great deal. Didn't quite cinch my top 23, but my 23 falls with Are You There, God? It's Me, Margaret.
Mm,
We nominated this for best adapted screenplay. Nominated Rachel McAdams for best supporting actress. It was well deserving. We nominated Viola Davis from Air for your 23.
that's
So
right.
we got a
Hmm.
couple supporting actress nods at our 23 there from our show.
Yes.
So love that at 23. What's your 22? Give it to me.
This was director's spotlight one for us. We were building up our way towards it, and it's Napoleon. For me, it was kind of one of the most not the most disappointing. I want to say that, but the more disappointing movies of the year. Still good. It was just not what I expected whatsoever, but
Mhm.
just not quite the movie I expected it was going to be. That's for
Yeah,
sure.
yeah.
But
That fell actually hilariously just a couple spots above Air for me as well.
hmm,
Um,
okay.
in my 40s. I feel similarly about it. It was one that we were that close to doing a spotlight for, and
Oh,
I'm
we
glad we're saving. We didn't do Ridley Scott.
Oh, that's right, it
We
was an
almost
about
did Ridley
one.
Scott.
That's right. Okay, I
Um,
forgot. Oh, I forgot about
we
that.
did end up talking it for a Patreon episode.
Mhm.
Um,
Maybe that's why
but
I thought that we
we
did it.
might be talking it for a director spotlight in 2024 ahead of Gladiator 2, though.
Ooh,
We just might.
this sounds more
Um,
fun. Yes.
but beautiful. My 22 is actually a rom-com, probably my favorite rom-com of the year in Rye Lane.
Hmm,
It's a English film. Uh, all British people in it. So if you're American, it might have missed you. No,
mhm.
I'm just playing.
It
It's
missed
it's
me.
very good.
It
Yeah, it's
did
it's
miss
very
me.
good. It's super cute. Heartwarming as all hell. Um, the performances are super good, and I loved it, dude. I loved it. It's one of my probably so far of the 2020s, probably my favorite rom-com of the 2020s, which is a interesting thought. I haven't really given that much thought. I'll have to think about it further, but as of right now, I'll make that claim. Rye Lane, my favorite rom-com of the 20s.
Okay,
Um,
there we
but yeah.
are. Quite the opposite movie here. My 21 is where I have Creed 3.
Mm,
Um, and got some news coming out of one of the actors that's in there. A little shaky. I don't really know everything going on there, but everything else in the movie, it was, it's another great addition to the Creed franchise. It gets me pumped when I'm coming out of the theater. I think I'm going to start boxing out of nowhere for no
yeah,
reason.
right.
I'm shadow boxing at home. I hear the theme in my head, all
Yeah.
that. But I think the earlier movies I prefer more in
The
for the
first
Creed
one
movies.
is
But
I
mm,
would say Creed 3 is the second best Creed movie behind Creed. I do like it more than Creed 2 though. And it was a crazy directorial debut for Michael B. Jordan.
oh, I
He
didn't even
was
know that. Wow.
yeah, like for a the man like can
Hmm.
direct a fucking fight sequence. That was the biggest swing in the entire Rocky franchise, that final
Damn.
fight. So,
Yeah.
and funny enough, again, couple spots above Napoleon. So we're in
We're in
keeping
the
here with
same
the
order, I guess.
yes, yes, we
Okay.
are so
Cool.
far. It's and only separated by a couple here and there.
Hmm.
But my 21 lies with another romance film, one that's a fucking mind bender. Strongly recommend. All of Us Strangers, directed by Andrew Haig, starring
Mm.
Andrew Scott and Paul Mescal. Andrew Scott ended up notching a Best Actor nom in our awards, and it was up to us. So of course I would say deservedly so. Um, it's so fucking good. It's so fucking sad.
Mm.
Made me cry like a motherfucker. And just I don't know. I feel like we're in an age where we're getting a lot of sapphic stories, a lot of representation for women loving women
Mm.
on screen. Bottoms came out last year. Drive Away Dolls just came out. I feel like Andor featured a lesbian couple. I feel like general societal norms
Wow.
are a little more accepting of
Yeah.
women kissing women than men kissing men. So it was nice to see a movie that was I mean, romantic as fuck between Paul Mescal and Andrew Scott. Like, I loved seeing it. It made me so happy, and, it was so good. So strongly recommend. That's at my 21.
Hell yeah, more love in the world, and that's what I take out of this movie. My 20 is where I have Maestro, and
Mm,
the Academy's loving this one a whole lot. I don't want to say it was bad or anything. It was a good movie, and it was made very
absolutely.
well. And the story, I had no idea about this dude before, but
Yeah, Leonard Bernstein.
now I guess I have a little more of what Bradley Cooper thinks of him, I guess, according to the
Right?
family. But regardless, the movie, it was cute. It got me to cry a couple times. It was,
Absolutely.
a whole life. I mean, from like it was just really cool. Just a biopic. That is just what they are, I guess. But
And it was, I like that one a lot. We're going up again. This one's a bigger gap by about 10 or 11 spots between Creed 3 and Maestro for me, but I also have Maestro above it. It did fall
hmm
outside of my top 23. But
yeah,
yeah, the discourse around it has been
maybe a little too
half-assed.
harsh, I'd say,
Yes,
like,
I would
sometimes,
say
but it is fair. Like, I do think the point that is being brought up, it is sort of fair a little bit, but, like,
I mean, it's extremely Oscar baity. It's clear that Bradley Cooper was shooting for that. Unfortunately, he's not gonna get it, and therein we're gonna see him descend even deeper into madness, which is super fun. I'm excited to see whatever the fuck he does next because 'cause that'll be excellent. But,
mm,
he Bradley Cooper's been a fucking character this Oscar season, but he's been villained in a way that I don't love. It's like being vulnerable about someone you admire and art and what you're passionate about, like, that's not cringy.
mm, yeah,
It's passion. It is what it is. Like, you don't have to have known, like, the video that's been going around is him, like, mourning Leonard Bernstein's death,
oh, yeah,
basically.
and him crying, and
So
people like, "Oh,
yeah, and him crying.
what an
"What a
emotional
bitch, what a
guy," like,
pussy." Yeah, yeah, like, "Oh,
he
poor
made
him."
a
Like, "Dude,
whole
it's fine."
movie on the
Yeah.
guy, like, he
Yeah.
spent much of his life, like, dedicating
Preparing
yeah,
for this
like
role, yeah. So
and
and that's my thing too, is that, like, there's levels to that conversation.
mm,
You know, should you as an actor be able to come on set, turn it on, and just fucking go? Yes. Is it a bad thing if you spend years preparing for that role and you put your all into it? No, that is fine. You know, like, that's why I'm like, people are being a little harsh on Bradley Cooper.
yeah,
Hey, man, he's
hey,
fine. He's fine by me. I like Bradley Cooper. And I liked Maestro, but didn't
mhm,
quite crack my top 23. My 20 is actually probably one of my favorite comedies of the year, just pure blood comedy, in terms of it took me back to the 2000s,
ooh,
like, that sort of shit. It's,
mhm,
Joyride,
mm,
directed by Adele Lim. So fucking funny, dude. I actually caught this
mm,
in the theaters with Emily, and it was potentially the hardest I've ever laughed in a movie theater,
that's
just
good,
consistently. Uh, it has a heart to it that I didn't see coming. It hits you out of nowhere, and you're like, "Oh, wait, this is fucking outstanding." It's an all women led cast. It's about friendship and it's sex positive. It's super fun. It's super cool
yeah,
and I love it. So Joyride was super cool and I strongly recommend it. That's
alright.
at my 20.
We'll talk about another woman-led cast. This is where Barbie landed for me at
Mm,
19. Yeah, I mean, at first, like whenever I was first making this list, like it was up there. Like whenever I first watched it, and I remember how like good I felt after watching Barbie. But then, like, kind of the more and more it just set with me,
mhm.
the bad or the worst parts of the movie kept shining through more and more. Like I still
Right.
think like the musical cues, like all the dance sequences, all the fun parts of the movie
It's a
are great.
well-directed
Like
movie.
awesome. If it was a musical the whole time, I think it honestly would have been better.
I think so too. Yes.
The
100.
it's just the whole Mattel or is it whatever the company's
Mattel.
called.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's I don't know. It's just like it just takes away from the movie, I think. Like, if we just stayed in Barbie Land the whole time and just kinda escaped from the realness of I don't like, of the I don't think it had to be that kind of a movie, I guess, but the parts that were fun and everything I loved, I mean, it's still number 19. It beat out a lot of other, fun movies. This is kind of a
Oh yeah.
more fun movie stretch that I'm on right now.
Yeah. Yeah,
Um,
no, and Barbie,
but
I mean, like, I do have that top 23. It's not quite yet. But, I love that movie, man, and it I'm in a similar position, but the thing for me is that the quality of it continues to kinda go downhill for me,
mm,
but my enjoyment of it is still sustained. Like, I
yeah,
cried in the movie theater. I've watched it, like, 5 fucking times. If I
mm,
didn't like it, I wouldn't have watched it 5 fucking
yeah.
times, you know? Like, it just keeps coming back to me. I've got it right here. I don't know if you can see, my camera's been a little fuzzy. It's the second one here.
Mhm.
Got it on Blu-ray for my birthday, and, I was super happy to get it. So I'm just like, "Hey, man, it is what it is." But my 19 actually lies with a different biopic. Um, might have had a few of the same, uh, falterings as Maestro, but, Priscilla,
Mm,
directed by Coppola, the,
mhm.
film about Priscilla Presley, the, woman who was married to Elvis,
Yeah.
and, I mean, like, this film was fucking beautiful to look at. I loved seeing it. Um, it fell into a little bit of a similar thing to Maestro. You're more seeing the circumstances your biopic subject is in versus
Mhm.
how they react to them and their personality and how they feel. But regardless, I think that this does an an amazing job regardless of showing when it comes to Priscilla, feel like that's a little bit more important that that's the detail because
Yeah.
she is kind of along for the ride. She is kind of not in control of her narrative
I had,
and
like, 0 clue of this before. Like, I just knew of Elvis, just
Mhm.
I had no idea that this was, like, attached to him and, like, just kind of very I don't know, it is crazy that, like, that was just kinda accepted. Everyone was just like, "Yeah,
Okay.
that's normal, that we're okay with." I don't know, maybe the times were, different. It was a while ago,
It's
but
interestingly
still,
portrayed in the movie
um
too because, I mean, like, she meets Elvis when he's in his mid-20s or
mhm.
early 20s, either way, and she's 14. Um, and
Mm.
so coming straight off of last or 2022's Elvis with Austin Butler and kind of that and
Yeah.
the loving, "Oh my god, look at this legend" biopic,
Mhm.
it was an interesting contrast, and I a lot of people think that the movies can't coexist. I certainly do. I think they're both important. I think
Mm.
that, there's a lot to be said for both, but Jacob Elordi does fantastic as Elvis. Sasha Calle, or no, not Sasha Calle. Wow, fucked that up. That's Supergirl. Kaylee Spaney, got the SC
Mm.
thing mixed up.
Mhm.
She's fantastic as Priscilla. The amount of emotion she can convey with her eyes, um, she's brilliant. So,
Mm.
beautiful visually. I love Sofia Coppola, and hopefully the next time she's dropping a movie, maybe we can do a spotlight for her because she's got a fantastic filmography. But yeah, Priscilla fell at 19 for me.
Hell yeah. Moving on to 18, I do have a comic book movie. This is where the first one pops up, but surprisingly, it's Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse, and that, like, it shocked me that out of the comic book movies I have, it's like it is the well, it's not the bottom, I guess. I do have The Flash and Marvels and Quantumania and Shazam below, but they're just outside the top 23. Um,
Right.
but as far as like comic book movies were, and it's I didn't hate the Marvels, but like there's a different jump whenever I hit even Spider Verse. But the ending was just it just kind of left too much of a sour taste in my mouth a little bit. Like the the first movie, Into the Spider Verse, can stand on its own completely, and it does, and
Mhm.
it is one of the greatest comic book movies to ever come out. And this one, it's still good, and it's great, but,
No, it's
like, I
beautiful.
mean, you are very reliant on the next movie coming out to, like, get the full satisfaction from the story,
Mhm.
and
No,
I don't
I'm
know,
with you, man.
but
I don't have this in my top 23, and in fact, I think that it is amongst my cape shit only above Flash and Quantumania this year. I even put the Marvels. I mean, I've got 3 in a row in my list that are just kind of like these are my
mhm,
comic book movies for the year.
yeah.
And the Marvels is the spot above it. But I will acknowledge Across the Spider-Verse probably just
It's made better, but I'd
it's a better
probably
looking
go to
movie.
the Marvels to
Um,
watch before
I
like,
would too.
that's the yeah, it is
There's a
weird.
lot of part 1 movies 'cause that's what this is. It's a part 1 of 2
Mhm,
that are complete, that do conclude their story and lead you in there was another one this year in Mission Impossible: Dead Reckoning.
mm,
That was a part 1, and
wow,
it feels like a part 1, but
mm,
the story they told in that movie completed itself,
yeah,
uh, and Infinity War was marketed as a part 1, and that completes itself, like, there's all sorts of stuff that I
mhm,
feel like I think the movie is fucking gorgeous, I think it's well performed, I think that there's a I love the general idea of the movie and some of the execution.
mhm.
If there could have been a little bit more of a thematic tie-in for the ending, I would have been a little bit
Something,
happier with it,
something, man. I don't know what, but it's clear that they're building towards a pretty cool ending. Like it is, like they're
No, yeah,
building
yeah, yeah.
something really cool. But
Oh, and that's what's fascinating is that to make this movie 2 hours and 20 minutes and it feel like we have the last act left. How long is Beyond the Spider-Verse gonna be? Like I don't know. It is what it is. I'm cool with it. Um,
Mhm.
but yeah, I'm with you though. I definitely
18.
have it in
Yeah,
my.
that's where it
I've
fell.
got it. I've actually got it at 38. So,
Hmm.
20 spots lower. A little bit of actually, this is the first time we've been out of step in terms of the
Barbie.
Maestro.
Oh, and Below
Uh,
Maestro as well.
it's
Okay.
below Maestro, but 18 is where I have Barbie.
Okay.
Um,
I got you. Oh, well, look at
yeah,
that.
so right there, right there. It's really good. I love Greta Gerwig. I love Margot Robbie. I think they've both done better things. Ryan Gosling, love him. Think he's done better things. It's a
Mhm.
super fun movie. I absolutely enjoy the shit out of watching it. Every time Margot Robbie's sitting on that bench and she's,
Oh.
taking in the beauty of the world, and she tells the old woman who she's been afraid of becoming that she's beautiful, and like all that, I fucking love it. I love the ending. I think
Mm.
that it's a wonderful ending, and like there's all sorts of stuff I like about it. I think that more than anything, it fell into like an MCU thing for me, where the fan base was so rabidly naive about how good it is that it made me like it less. Um,
Mhm.
like I'm like,
Yeah.
and frankly, I say naive. It's a subjective medium. Anybody can like anything they want, and anybody can think anything's as good as they want. Um, I I I think it's a fine,
It
good movie. Um,
just came out alongside Oppenheimer, you know? It was
yeah,
just the moment. Like that, I mean, the moment was huge, you know? It was crazy. Like the
great
theater
moment. Yeah,
experience of Barbie will forever,
super
like
cool.
I will remember that forever. Like it was awesome. It
Mhm.
was so much fun. But yeah, it's
I'll forever remember it because of a dude in my screening who had a lot of commentary.
mm,
Um, It
wow.
wasn't stained in terms of, like, he'd say, like, full sentences in
Mm,
reaction to anything. I remember America Ferrera's monologue,
mm,
uh, the basics of it, and, "You can do this, but you can't do that, and you can do this, but you can't do that, and you can do this, but you
mhm.
can't do that,"
Oh,
and
that
she got
was
finished,
yes, yeah.
solid part of the movie. It's
Oh, this guy. Oh, yeah.
and
What
then
he
this guy goes he was like, "I know that's right." And it's
mm,
like a dude in my audience, and I'm like, "Okay, man. Okay, man."
yeah,
Like,
yeah.
I'm sure you know that's right, but now's not the time, brother. I
Mm,
know that's right, but I ain't gonna say it out loud in a room full of people, okay? Sometimes you gotta
mm,
keep shit to yourself. Um,
mhm. Yeah, I had
but
it I wouldn't ca I mean, maybe obnoxious. Yeah, I'd say obnoxious, but they were just having a good time. Just a laugh that was very unique, very loud,
yeah, it's
and laughing at parts that weren't
that funny.
that funny. But man, it made everyone else laugh a whole lot because sometimes we would
I
laugh
will say,
at their
like,
laugh.
yeah.
So
Barbie's a funny fucking movie too, man. Like, there's a lot of
yeah.
parts that make me laugh out loud. I love, "I wanna push you around. Well, I will." Like, that whole part,
Sublime.
4
Yeah.
hours later, like, they've been
Mm,
performing that song for hours and hours and hours on loop. Like, there's so much about that movie that I
uh,
absolutely adore. So I wanna make it clear that
mhm,
I I think that what I said is my primary example of why the movie has been kind of diminished in my eyes, and it is because of people thinking it's the greatest film ever made. Um,
mm-mm. No,
and
but it's
like
okay.
there's just at some point there's a stand. Someone must
You know,
take a
you don't
stand.
have to
So I'm gonna
defend it,
put it at
you know?
18 in my top 23 of the year. That's my stand. Um,
19. I'll at least put it above Maestro or Maestro. I don't know why.
Maestro.
It's such a weird word, but yeah, put it above that. So fuck you,
Me
Oscars.
too.
I guess you know that. I guess that's what I'm saying there a little bit. But all right, Barbie at 18. Um, all right. Well, moving on. I do have another comic book movie,
Mm,
and surprisingly, this one above Spider Verse. But I don't think I feel very comfortable putting it above, and it's Blue Beetle. It like
mm.
actually surprised me a whole lot. I just kind of threw it on one day. It was on Max, and I'm like, oh, sure, I'll watch Blue Beetle. Check out what's popping in the DC universe, and man, was it like a super cool, like tight family, like I mean, like the family dynamics, the
Dude,
I don't
love it.
know, it just was such a heartwarming movie, and
Mhm.
and I got done finished with that, and I'm like. wow. I'm like, yeah, I'm more fulfilled than I was at like with Spider-Verse, and that's crazy to me. I was much more excited for that movie. I was looking forward to it. I'm like, I need that movie when it comes out. I need it now. And then Blue Beetle's kind of just this. All right, yep, it's kind of sprinkled in there, but it ends up being, I don't know, very heartwarming. And I thought a pretty good movie. Um,
Yeah, as far as
so
Marvel and DC is concerned, it's top 2 for me, on the year. I think that, just behind, another one that I'm sure we'll get to,
mhm.
but, it's I found it extremely heartwarming too. I found it extremely surprising. I remember hitting you up as I was watching it and being like, "Yo, you'll dig this movie," and you were like, "I already watched it last night, and fuck
Mm,
yeah, I did," and I
yeah,
was like, "Hell yeah, brother,"
yeah.
like, that was the vibe. Yeah, I enjoy the shit out of it, and I think that James Gunn would be a fool not to bring that cast and crew back. Um, I
Mhm.
think that the director did a fantastic job with the material and had a clear love for the character, and it's yeah, it's a wonderful comic book movie, incredibly
Yeah.
original. There's this thing that goes on comic book Twitter, where people are like, "You remember when this used to happen in superhero movies? You remember when this used to happen in superhero movies?" And Blue Beetle like did all of those things, but nobody saw Blue Beetle, so like
I
nobody fucking
know.
knows
It went
that those
under
are
the radar.
yeah, yeah, exactly.
It's such an under the radar movie, but
Mhm,
doesn't mean it's not as good as the rest of these. If um and I think if I watched as many movies as you did, I don't think Blue Beetle is up here in my top 23. I think a lot of these like movies would kind of slide, right above this one. Like I'm kind of getting into that tier where it's starting to get into the actual like I can say that I
mhm.
enjoyed this movie and it's made very very well,
Yeah, I mean,
sort
I've
of
got
thing.
I've
But
got Blue Beetle at 36.
mhm.
Which is just a couple spots below Maestro, but it's above a bunch of the other ones you
Yeah.
said, like, I have it above Air, I have it above, I mean, a bunch of good movies, a bunch of fun
Mhm.
movies anyway. Um,
Yeah.
so yeah, I mean, I dug it, but, my 17, this is the one that just slowly I love it, and I wanted it up there, and it just kept ticking down, and there was nothing I could do about it. John Wick 4.
Mm.
Love my boy Keanu. Love Chad Stahelski in the director's chair. Fantastic fucking action movie. One of the fucking best. And I could watch it time and time again if it were shorter. It's just a very
Mm.
long movie. And I know what I
Okay.
like about the movie. I remember it vividly. Absolutely one of my favorite theater experiences of 2023. It was actually the first John Wick movie I got to see in theaters and the first Keanu movie I got to see in
Wow.
theaters, which might
Okay.
come as a surprise to our listenership, as that's
Mhm.
been, the personality of this podcast for some time.
Yeah.
So holds a special place in my heart. Love it. Didn't go much higher. Couldn't take it much higher. So
I
17,
heard,
John
and I
Wick
don't know where or what this necessarily pertains to, but it was something of the lines of like John Wick fell down 8 billion stairs, and Tom Cruise rode a motorcycle off a cliff 8 times, something, 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 and then this person ended up winning like stunt. I don't know. I forgot what it was.
It
Um,
was it was Rachel Zegler won something for Hunger Games. The Ballad of
mm,
Songbirds and Snakes. I think it was like action star of the year, but and that person was taking it way too seriously. I'm pretty sure it was like a
okay.
People's Choice Award or
Oh,
something. Like it wasn't
okay.
anything
Then
of
yeah,
note.
I just didn't know
But
how. I don't know. I haven't seen the
oh yeah,
stunt or
yeah,
anything,
no,
but
I don't, and I'm assuming Keanu Reeves didn't fall down those stairs. Um,
yeah.
but there's one at the beginning of the movie where he falls down just like this ridiculous amount of like a ridiculously tall escalator,
Okay.
tumbles all the way down it. Incredible stunt work. And then like later on in the movie, like I saw a tweet going into it that was like this is actually crazy when you go to see it. And like you think this is it, like this is what you were like this is the giant stunt. No. That is minor shit for
Wow.
the stair falling in John Wick
I'm
4.
so confused as to how you could like what is how could it be this like so crazy? But I don't know. I mean, it's done. That's what everyone kind of says about it. Like what you're
No, you
saying.
gotta you
So
gotta you gotta
I
see
got to
it, man.
see
I
it.
remember it
Yeah.
vividly. Has one of the coolest, like, just action set pieces I've ever seen where it kinda, reminds me of, like, Scarface and Taxi Driver, the, like, over the head
Ooh.
voyeur kind of
Mhm.
through the halls and through the rooms. You see the setup of the rooms, and it's super cool, but, it's high octane, lot of
Yeah.
tension, super cool. So, John Wick 4 at 17, and we might want to, pick it up a little bit for 16 or
Mhm.
16 through 11.
Okay. Well, this one, it's one that I really liked off rip. It kind of has got fallen down a little bit. But this is where I have Godzilla -1.
Mm.
And very cool news. I've heard that the director is saying that he kind of wants to make a response film to Oppenheimer, kind of have a Japanese take on just the nuclear bomb and everything. And I think that would be really cool. Um,
I'd argue he did.
Kind of true. Yeah, I guess a little bit, but one that is very
Yeah.
clearly
Oh,
not having a
not
giant
fantastic.
monster
Yeah.
at the center of the movie. I think would be really cool. But I don't want to talk about, I guess, his future projects. This one was really cool. Very
Yeah.
like the look. I like that it was a classic look of Godzilla, that they didn't go crazy, and that it was more kind of story based. And I loved the people coming together and
Yeah.
figuring everything out at the end and everything like that. But
Dude,
um,
love that movie.
kind of
It
another
fell just outside my 23, but I
Spider
loved
Verse
it.
thing too, with like what's going on at the end there? Like what? I don't like.
If it had
Okay,
ended
uh,
5 seconds earlier,
mm-hmm,
peak, just peak.
yeah,
If it had ended 10 seconds earlier, maybe even more peak. I don't know. Like, there's just a lot going on there. Um, but regardless, I love that movie.
mm-hmm.
Um, didn't quite crack my top 23, but my 16 got another blind spot of yours that I know you really wanted to make it around to. You just didn't end up getting to it. Ari Aster's Beau is Afraid, starring
Ah,
Joaquin Phoenix.
yes, man.
I can't even fucking begin on this one. It's fucking ridiculous. It's bizarre. It's fucking
Hmm.
good, and Joaquin Phoenix is in it. It's really well directed. The production design's incredible. Um, but yeah, you just got to kind of see it to even begin to
Yeah, I downloaded it and I just kind of
understand.
scrubbed through, and I was like, I saw his apartment. At least I think it was his. I'm assuming that's his. I saw him at a
Yeah,
store, and then just kind of everything was freak. He was freaking out. I get the I think I get the movie based on like
he's
2 seconds that
tweaking.
I saw,
Yeah,
kind of a little bit. But
um,
but yeah, I want to
definitely
get
an
to it for
anxious
sure.
man, to
Mm-hmm.
be sure.
Seems so.
Um, got a
Um,
lot of psychosexual problems going on, but yeah,
okay,
Beau is
didn't
Afraid.
catch that.
Uh,
But
no,
okay.
and you wouldn't if you're just scrubbing through. It's a
Hmm,
lot of,
okay.
so there's a lot there,
Hmm.
so Beau is Afraid 16.
Okay. Well, 15. This one is where I'm starting to feel bad that it's outside my top 10. Like these feel like they should kind of be, but it's not. I love this movie. It was so unique. This is where I have American Fiction.
Mm,
And man, I don't know, funny. I'm crying. I'm like it just kind of everything, and a very very good take, I think, of the kind of social status or social aspects of the
standing,
movie. Yeah, I think they did a
yeah.
very, very good job. Um, and
So real, so raw.
it's so real. I mean, incredibly raw, so vulnerable,
It's
is what I
brave.
would say. Very brave. I mean,
Oh,
I'd put it honestly, like people love Barbie and everything. I don't know how this isn't seen as like the best creation of the year by far. No, but no, it was a beautiful movie, and loved the dude Jeffrey Wright. So it was an absolute delight
had to
to see
be
him at the
there,
helm.
had to be there,
Hmm.
but, yeah, I love that. We will get to that again, but my 15 is Bottoms, the,
Mm.
Fight Club inspired lesbian high school flick. It's incredible.
Uh,
Iowa Debris is wonderful in it. Rachel Sennett is wonderful in it. I loved Emma Seligman's past work with Shiva Baby. Just it's so fucking funny. I love Ruby Cruz. I love Marshawn Lynch. I could go on and on and
oh,
on
that's
about
funny.
yeah, about everybody. Like it's so fucking
Mm.
funny. Me and Emily, it's become kind of our just like comfort movie. We don't know what to watch. What are we gonna watch? We throw on Bottoms. We owned it as soon as we possibly could. Like it was wonderful. It was another theater experience that I'm so glad I got in. Loved Bottoms, and it's ridiculous. It's hilarious. Had to be here. This is also where I start feeling bad about stuff not being in my
Mhm.
top 10. Like I
Uh,
wanted Bottoms to be top 10 so fucking bad, and I just couldn't do it. I couldn't do it, but
Damn.
it's right there. So my top
Okay.
15. I just love these movies. Uh,
Mhm.
yeah.
Okay. Well, my 14. I have two comic book movies left. And this was also a shock, but my number two comic book movie is Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. And still a phenomenal movie. As of right now, probably my favorite trilogy there is in comic book history. I think that's
That so as
pretty
well.
solidified until maybe the Spider-Verse movie comes out. I don't know. We'll have to see. Um, but yeah, honestly, might be a hot take. I kind of prefer Bradley Cooper's performance in Guardians 3 than Maestro. So
He's
and
good,
that's
man.
in a
He's
in
good.
a voice, just voice work there. But I think maybe that's just more. I have very much greater attachment to Rocket than I do. I already
Leonard
forgot. Yeah, his name sadly Leonard
Bernstein.
Bernstein. Yeah,
Yep.
okay. But yeah,
Legend.
Guardians 3, the I don't know, James Gunn kind of send off from the MCU and the Guardians
Mhm.
kind of it was a really cool just kind of
Yeah.
experience, and love that we got it this year.
It
So,
was, it was. It's the closest a Marvel or DC movie got to my top 23. It fell at 25. So it
okay.
was right there, didn't quite breach.
Mhm.
It would've if we'd done this a couple weeks back. I got a couple in under the wire, that didn't that kinda shook things up for me, but, my 14 is technically a comic book movie, and I'd forgotten about this. Um, it's based upon a comic book, The Killer, directed by David Fincher.
Okay, then never mind.
Um
I have two more comic book movies left then.
Yes, yes. Yeah, no,
Okay.
I love The Killer. Michael Fassbender's incredible in it. It's one of my
Mm.
favorite looking movies of the year. I've watched it 3 times, and I watched it 3 times within, like, 3 days when it
Mhm.
came out. So, like, it was, it's
Yeah.
one you just kind of have to I mean, like and it was one that first impression was not incredible, but there was something so magnetic about it where I was like,
Hmm.
"I have to watch it again, though." I don't know why, but
The
there's
twist
something so
when you told
yeah,
me that it's like kind of funny, that it's like he's not actually doing good. And like
good.
whenever you said that and I watched it again, I'm like, "Oh man, this movie's so different." I'm like, It's a
Yeah,
completely
it's
different
so
movie
much
now."
better when you think of
But
him as being a fuck up.
it's the
Uh,
first time
and
he's ever fucked up, And
mhm.
but yeah, I
Yeah,
forgot
no, The Killer,
technically
man. I
a
love it.
comic book
It's at
movie.
14 for me.
Okay. 13. Ugh. Now I'm getting real mad. Um, but this is where I have Anatomy of a Fall. Um, and man, this one is the most interesting to me. On paper, it seems like it would be the most boring movie, like kind of on the
Mm.
list. But I needed to know everything. I'm like I'm in the courtroom, and when the second they went away, I'm like, no, 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 you go right back there. Like I understand movie things need to happen, but I need to know how this case is gonna close and everything. And man, just so unique to make it ambiguous, to make it just we're not gonna let you know. You create your own ending. And I think that's the point. It's to get you thinking of the
You
situation
yeah,
of
you come to
what
your own
you think
conclusions
of
for
of
sure.
everything happening. And what a like just a crazy. Is it based on a true story? Do you know?
No, no.
So just wow. Okay. Yeah. I mean, very.
That's why it's an incredible original
That's
screenplay.
crazy that it's not based on a
Yeah,
true story. That's wow.
it's incredibly thorough. Justine Triet is just
Wow. Like some of
fantastic.
the
Yeah.
details they were bringing up in this case, I'm like, oh, this has to be like based on a true. Like this is just fucking too real. But I guess the beauty of the murder or suicide, like I guess it does make sense now that it is written, and that it maybe it didn't actually happen this way. But
No, but
um,
yeah, like,
oh,
it's so fucking good, and another one we will be getting to, but, love that at your
okay.
13. My 13 is Ferrari.
Mm,
Um,
mm-hmm.
loved it dearly, couldn't quite crack my top 10. Love Adam Driver. One again, just has one of my most jaw-dropping theater moments of all time in terms of just
Oh,
sitting there kind of gut sinking. One of the coolest things I've ever experienced on the big screen, and Michael Mann it was my first
woo.
Michael Mann on the big screen, so that
Mm-hmm.
was another thing that was very, very cool about it. This was a director's spotlight movie,
Yes,
so
it
was The
was.
Killer, but,
This
they're
this
falling right
was
here. Um,
two
but
objects
yeah, so
collide.
I've got 3 of them outside,
Okay.
my top 10 for the director's spotlight: Barbie, The Killer, and Ferrari in
Mm,
terms of what we were anticipating for our director spotlight. So that's uh that's the last director spotlight movie outside of the top 10, Ferrari.
okay. Well, comic book movie coming up here, but I didn't really know before. This is 12 is where I have The Killer.
Hmm.
So pretty close there between me and you, and it's the same reasons. I think I only watched it twice, maybe. I definitely watched it the first time, and was like maybe there was something else there, and then you gave me that little tidbit of he's not doing good, and it's actually funny, and then that watch was completely different and
Yeah.
awesome, but yeah, and then learning like the VFX breakdown and everything from it. Um,
I don't know if you can see that, but it says I watched it on the 10th, the 11th, and the 12th,
okay, yeah, so
of
bang, bang,
November.
bang.
So yeah,
But yeah, like and the technical side of it was so much more crazy than I ever thought. Like whenever
yeah,
he's riding around on the bike, he's just not even there.
it's
It's
not
just
real.
not even him. And I like never once while I was watching did I ever think like, oh, like my sensors were going off. Like never while watching the movie. So I mean, I very very impressive. Kind of I think maybe an under the radar kind of movie as well. Even
Mm,
after watching because you a lot of that stuff the VFX stuff just is that good that you don't even know it's
right.
there. But I could see how some people would say like the lack of like a real story kind of like there is a story but there's no like I don't know like a
No, I get it. It's a day in
big
the life sort of movie,
yeah
but it's just the day in the life of a fucking hitman who's failed a hit. So,
hmm
like, there is a high intensity to it. There's a lot of tension, but you don't really know who the antagonist is. Everybody's kind of an antagonist. He's always looking over his shoulder. It's very paranoid.
hmm
It is a different kind of movie, but I love it. So I had it there. I had it at 14. So 14 and 12. You'd think it would be the closest besides Barbie there. But now my 12 is Anatomy of a Fall,
okay
right there next to your 13.
hmm
Just outside my top 10. Fucking loved it. Sandra Hüller is incredible as the lead there. And Mila Machado Grainer, another fantastic actor, gonna have hopefully an extremely bright future. That kid, he's so good.
yeah
Uh, the lawyer is sexy as hell. Um,
uh-huh
Beautiful fucking man. Anatomy of a Fall, love it. That's my 12.
yeah okay well the last comic book movie actual well is it I think um
Should be, I believe.
Yeah, I mean it is. I just don't know where it falls, I guess. Where what universe or whatever. But this is the biggest surprise out of comic book movies for me. This is where I have Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Mutant Mayhem amongst crazy film, very
Yeah.
critically awarded movie. I think it's crazy that this is the movie that's kind of joining. Um but that's why I kind of put it right outside my 10. But
Massive Oscar snub.
dude,
Should have gotten Best Animated Feature nommed
like
at
this
least.
was awesome. Like this was like
Mhm.
it was fun. The music was super fun. Just like all the different like Post Malone, Paul Rudd, Ice Cube, like all these really cool people. But then like the actual child actors, like I don't know, just the chemistry they had. Like it was very like as a kid now, like they just say a lot of things that kids now say, and I
Oh, yeah.
see how like kids
"Let me
would
get a bacon,
love
egg,
this
and
movie.
cheese."
Yeah, or like he's mollywopping me, or like it's there's
Yeah,
like
yeah.
it got me to laugh a whole lot. I mean, Seth Rogen's
Oh, yeah.
attached, so I mean, he's a very
Mhm.
funny guy. Makes a lot. Paul
Yeah.
Rudd, you have a lot of very comedic people working on it, so it does make sense. But I don't
And it
know,
was just
I loved it.
I grew up loving the Ninja Turtles,
Hmm.
and there was never a movie that I was, like, over the moon about. Like, I liked a lot of the movies, and I
Hmm.
got attached to them because of the action figures and stuff, and it was a lot of fun. But this was the first TMNT movie that I fucking loved. It's at
Yeah.
24. So it
Oh.
was right there. If I
Ooh.
hadn't watched the
Okay.
one yesterday, it
Hmm.
would have been top
Damn.
23.
Okay.
I love this movie, and
Mm.
it's one that I caught in a, afternoon matinee. Like, I went straight from work to the theater, sat in, like, the front fucking row, and watched just
Mm.
beautiful animation, dude. Gorgeous animation. So I love TMNT, and I'm glad you're giving it some love so close to your
Yeah.
top 10.
I loved it,
My
man.
last out,
Yeah.
um, and this was hard. This was hard to choose one over the other. Um, is May December, directed
Okay.
by Todd Haynes.
Wow.
I love May December. It made me probably the most like affected any movie has this year.
Yeah.
Just disturbed and sad and by the end hopeful and kind of gratified. It's fascinating. I think Charles Melton top 3 Oscar snub this season for the
Mm,
performance categories. Can't believe he
dude.
wasn't even nominated for supporting actor. That's fucking crazy. Um, but Natalie Portman and Julianne Moore are fantastic, and it's a fantastic movie. Todd Haynes was I love his movies, one of my favorite directors.
Mm.
So, I if you haven't watched May December, you gotta watch it. It's my 11. It's the first out. But with that, let's dig in to the top 10 movies of 2023. We didn't quite fly through
No,
23
we
through
did
11 like
not.
I thought we would.
Mhm.
So it turns out I might just go ahead and title this episode like the top 23 movies of 2023 instead of the top 10. So we'll probably treat the top 10 roughly the same as we did 23
We
through
love
11.
movies, man.
We
It's
love
just
movies, man.
yeah.
I was a fool to think it was possible for us to take our time, or to not take our time. So,
Uh-huh.
um, let's get into it. What is, would you like to begin the top 10?
I don't know. I did begin outside, so maybe it's up to
It would
you
only
now.
it only makes sense
Um,
to me. Let's go ahead and get it popping.
okay. Well, 10 here. I have The Creator for me. And honestly, I'm not going to lie. Before I watched this, I thought this was going to be like a one, two, three kind of movie for
Mhm.
me. It was up my alley, that's for sure. The storyline, it is. Like, as far as all the rest of the movies that are above this, this is the one that seems like the Joe movie.
Right,
Um,
yes.
but yeah, I know the talent that these actors have. I know it was just sort of clear it wasn't all there. But
Mhm.
as far as the
It's a great
visuals that were
oh, d
given, like it was I loved the blend of like real world, like they went
Mhm.
to just real locations and it was almost like very village like things that were not technologically advanced whatsoever, but then meddled with crazy, future
Yeah.
shit that we don't even have. And I thought that was really really cool, really unique to make the super weapon or whatever a kid, and it is like the main character's sort of child. I don't know, all the inner workings of the story I thought were really really cool, really really unique. But I wish it was just, I don't know, made with a little more emotion behind. Like it just sort of fell flat a couple times. Like some
Mhm.
dialogue readings just felt like, I don't know, like they weren't really
No, I
into it
mean, it's
fully.
not just it's not the actor's fault strictly. I think that the general story is very good, but the screenplay is pretty weak. I don't think
Mm.
that the writing is particularly strong. I
Uh.
think that it had a great outline and a
Mhm.
great, like a great idea and some great performers and a director who is fantastic with grandiose storytelling, Gareth Edwards. Um, but when it came to the literal writing and direction of actors, that's never been Gareth Edwards' strong suit. Um,
Mhm.
so, I think that it did what it needed to do. I saw this on an IMAX screen, which was fucking
Mm.
beautiful. The ending makes me fall apart. It's wonderful, and I love John David Washington, so it was a great movie for me. I had it at 27, so it was just outside my top 25 or my top
Okay.
23 as well. Um,
Mhm.
but, good way to kick off the top 10. My top 10 is one you already mentioned. This is where I'm putting American Fiction,
Okay.
directed by Cord
Glad.
Jefferson, starring Jeffrey Wright. I had to get it top 10, mostly because my love for Jeffrey Wright is just so immense that I have a tough time putting anybody above him. I think that he does fantastic, and in a perfect world, he would win Best Actor. I don't think he's necessarily deserving of it compared to some of our other actor nominees. I'm so thankful he's a first time Oscar nominee though. One of my favorites ever,
Mm.
one of my favorites to do it, and this movie was a perfect one to do it. I'm still hoping that the Oscar for best adapted screenplay does end up going to this one. I think that'd be
I could
wonderful.
see it.
Um,
I
I
could
could
see
too.
it.
As if you're visiting us over here for the first time, you ought to go listen to our awards where it is nominated for best adapted screenplay to see how that goes. Um,
Mhm.
But yeah, man, I love Jeffrey Wright, and I loved this movie. It's so fucking good, and just not at all what you think it would be, based off like the trailer. I thought it was a comedy and that it was just going to be funny, but it balances tone so incredibly well, and it
Mhm.
does so much with so like having read the book. Also, it's not so little material. A lot there. There's a lot. There's a lot to go on, but like I said on the award show, like 10 chapters of the book are the book he writes,
Yeah.
uh, the book, My Pathology. It's before it is dubbed Fuck, when
Fuck.
it's still My Pathology.
I wanna
Um,
call it fuck. Oh, man, he's
I wanna
just
call it Fuck. Uh, yeah, no, another one of the just laugh so hard I almost fell out of my seat moments in a theater. Like I fucking loved it. So American Fiction,
Ugh,
that's my 10. That's how I'm kicking
okay.
off my top 10.
I love it. Very, very deserving. That's for sure. And 9 is a movie that you felt bad for leaving outside your top 10, but it is inside of mine. And it's May December. It was honestly out of the movies that I was going to watch, I thought this was the one that I would like not like the most. I don't know why. It was just kind of the vibes I got. I'm like, this isn't my kind of movie. I don't think I'll like it. I was very, very wrong as to what
Okay.
kind of movie it was at the beginning. Um, so maybe that's why. Maybe I just had no idea what the movie was, even in the first place. So I'm just like lost completely.
The
Yeah.
vibes do give off a certain soap opera melodrama sort of thing.
Mm-hmm. And just to give you guys an idea of where my brain was at, I thought Charles Melton, the very much victim in the situation, I thought he was I thought he was a serial killer or some. I thought he was gonna like. I don't know. He was too mundane,
Oh.
too like, and so I had the very wrong picture of the movie in my head. But then once I was let known the dynamic, it was like, oh, okay,
Yeah. I loved
wow.
going back and forth with
Um,
you at the beginning of that movie when you were like, "This dude has to be a serial killer or something." I believe I hit you back with like, "Okay, so you have a very bad read of the movie."
mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
But I will say, like I kinda I was
Yeah, you were like,
it is
okay,
important though, because I think that that sort of lens that you go into viewing a movie with can absolutely influence how you end up perceiving the quality of the film. So I was like, I wanted to figure out how to be kind of delicate with it about
yeah,
being like,
and that's
no,
there is kind
that's
of
not
two
quite
different
it.
things because finding out that that was the case almost made it like even more even more like, ugh, like if you didn't
It's
know.
handled so
Yeah,
casually. Yeah.
exactly. So like honestly, if you didn't know and you find out naturally throughout the movie, maybe that's
Maybe that's optimal.
I
Yeah, I
don't
don't
know,
know.
but
The way Natalie Portman treats Julianne Moore's character having groomed Charles Melton is, it's a disturbing one. It's an icky one, but it's so fucking good, and,
mm,
that's just what grown-ups do. But,
mhm.
that's a good 9. My 9, I believe we're gonna have a little overlap here if I had to guess. One that I have lower than you if I had to guess.
Okay.
This is where I have the zone of interest.
Mhm.
This is directed by Jonathan Glazer, a Best Picture nominee, a Best Adapted Screenplay nominee, a best, a best, a best, a best. It's one of the finest crafted films I've ever watched in my life. I will, I will probably watch it again someday simply because it's
Of
so
how
fucking
good it
good.
is.
In
Yeah.
fact, I've had it's a fucked up one to feel like this for, but, like, I kind of want to already. Um,
Yeah.
it's harrowing, it's disturbing, it's one of those ones where the credits roll, the black screen hits, and I just let out, like, this sigh of not relief, but stress and anxiety and just everything that's been burgeoning up inside of me as I've been watching
Yeah.
the movie. One of my favorite endings of 2023. One of like, just I am
Yeah.
so upset that this never made it to a theater in Kansas City. It was one that I wanted to see so fucking bad, and it just never made its way here. Um,
Ooh. If we do have
Even when they
overlap.
were doing the $5 fan
Yeah,
faves for,
wow.
like,
How the
Oscar
hell?
nominees, Zone of Interest
How?
never made it here. Um,
How?
so I
Like,
don't know, but,
whoa, one of the
another
most
one where Sandra
moving. just I
Yeah.
like moving movies of the year. Like
Mhm.
it was insane. Like if we do have overlap, do we want to just kind of talk about the movie together, and or would you want me to wait until it does pop back up
You can
again?
save it a little bit. I mean, like, don't you know, like, there are certain things that I'm assuming you'll like about the movie that you can point out that I might not point out and stuff, you know? So, that's
Okay.
kinda what I tried to do with, like, American Fiction
Okay.
and stuff like that, so,
Okay.
but,
But yeah.
yeah, no,
Mm.
I love Zone of Interest. I can't bel like, this is the one I like the least in my top 10, if that makes sense. Like, I hate
Yeah.
the way it makes
It's
me feel, but I love
mhm.
that it makes me feel that at all.
You
Um,
should. You are
yes.
right for feeling the way you do. That is
Yeah.
it's a good human morale check, you know, I think.
Mm.
If you don't come out of this movie kind of fucked up and not like thinking a whole lot of thoughts, then maybe I don't know.
No, I went on Letterboxd when I finished it and wrote a fucking poem basically about fascism and genocide and the mind of a fucking
Mhm.
lunatic like the Hess family.
The question that I just kept coming back to was how? Like, how does this just go past so many people and people are cool and like maybe they're not and it's just so bad that people are like, okay, I have to choose to ignore so that it like I don't know, but like how the fuck did that actually happen?
Yeah, I don't
But
fucking know,
I
man.
guess
It's one of
we'll
the most
yeah.
disturbing chapters in the history of the world, and the Zone of Interest, it captures it in a way that is
Ooh,
extremely unique and extremely harrowing, and man, is it good though.
yeesh.
It's good. It's fucking
Yeah.
good. So,
We'll
the Zone of
return
Interest is at 9.
We will return in a little bit, not too far.
Mm.
But my number 8, a little happier note. I get a very much happier note. Um, not supposed to be the happiest movie, I guess, but this is where I have Ferrari, Michael Mann's Ferrari. And at first, I did have it much lower, but upon rewatches, it has only climbed, and it has been those like at when I finish this, I'm like, I don't think I'll need to see that again. I think it's kind of like a one and done movie. Like I got everything I needed out of it. There's not really any pull to make me want to watch it again immediately. But my uncle came over to watch it with my father, and I'm like, oh wow, I hear it going on downstairs. I hear some loud car noises. Oh, that's Ferrari.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
I'll go sit down there for a little bit, and I sat down, just thinking I'll just be there for like 5 minutes to check out. I'm down there for like an hour, and I'm like, okay, wow, yeah, this movie is very. Once you're in it, you're kind of just sitting there and watching and I don't know. I really like Adam Driver, man. Oh my god, did he like? That's what I notice every time I come back is he's just so fucking good. And Penelope Cruz also. I was very very passionate about her over there on the awards show. So
Mhm.
so just two absolute just knockout performances, and then also
Powerhouse.
like I
Yeah.
mean I think the story was just really cool. Like as far as like a movie like Ford versus Ferrari or Ferrari, I'd much rather have a story like Ferrari unfold in front of me rather than I don't know. It feels easier to go with like the Ford versus Ferrari movie. Like it's a
Right,
happy
right.
ending. It's a race. It's a win. It's a I don't know like but the Ferrari
Yeah, no,
wasn't
Ferrari's a little
about the
bit more,
race really.
it's a little sad. It's very sad,
Yeah.
actually. Like I said, left me with one of the most
Yeah.
gut-wrenching
Oh
moments in theater I've ever seen,
my
so,
god.
um,
I mean, it was how many I mean, there were it wasn't a full theater, but, I mean, there were
we had a
yeah,
solid crowd when we went
um,
and saw Ferrari.
and, I mean, just not a peep. Maybe, like, an initial, like, gasp, but that
Mhm.
was it, and then everyone like, the air
I
just left
remember when
everyone's
the
body, like,
I
oh
remember when the tire hits the object in the road, we heard someone in the top row go, "Oh, no." And that was it, you know,
yeah,
like, they went, "Oh, no,"
yep,
and then it just went bad, but, yeah, no, Ferrari is,
mm,
uh it's another one where I felt that way initially. I was like, "I don't know if I'll ever need to watch it again," you know, like, I
mhm,
think I know exactly how I feel about the movie,
mhm,
and I don't think that'll change much. I think my appreciation can only kinda grow, you know,
yeah,
and, it's a fucking good one, man. I enjoy it a great deal, so I love that you got Ferrari this high in your top 10. That makes me
mm,
happy.
mm, I do. And I'm just kinda more of a car guy as well, it's been in my blood, so I think that does kinda boost it a little bit,
Can help, can
but yeah.
help, but, For my 8, I'm going with one that I was so fucking happy I got to see on the big screen. My last theater experience of the 2023 calendar year. I believe I saw it
Okay.
on New Year's Eve. The Boy and the Heron, directed by Hayao
Mm.
Miyazaki. Uh, Visually astonishing, one of my favorite scores of the year. I actually my theater was only showing the English language dub,
Mm.
which is fine, it is what it is, so I got to hear voices that I know a little better, Robert Pattinson
Mhm.
voiced the Heron, and it was he's fucking crazy in it, I love it, it's, one of the most moving films I've seen this year and easily just one of the most beautiful, just a gorgeous film, and Hayao Miyazaki has this way of just striking kind of the same chords with his movies every time, but in a new way and
Mm.
making me feel good and making me feel happy, but also it's a little bittersweet and and it's always
Mhm.
new. It's never it never feels the same, and that's a fascinating thing he's been able to pull off. So, I adored The Boy and the Heron, and I'm so glad I got to see it. So, I have that
Yeah.
top 10 as at my 8.
Okay. And I'm glad some animation getting some love. I wish Ninja Turtles could have maybe been top 10, get another animated movie in here, but I don't know. As far as the animated movies coming out, like we've got a this is a blind spot for me. I do still need to see this, but um I like that there is very highly critically acclaimed animated movies still like this.
If he
So
doesn't win best animated film this year, I fucking riot. I'll tell you that.
what
Like,
is
there's no fucking
what
chance.
else is there?
Across the Spider-Verse,
Okay.
not
Shouldn't.
TMNT. There was yeah, if Across the Spider-Verse wins, I will if The Boy and the Heron loses, it better not be to Across the Spider-Verse because it wasn't even the best animated comic book film this year,
Mm-mm.
and the other one's not nominated. So that's where I stand with it. The other ones, unfortunately, I haven't seen, so I can't really
Mm.
judge one way or the other.
Okay.
Oh wait, yes, I have Elemental, which fell outside my top 23.
Okay.
Um, I enjoy
Okay.
I enjoy Elemental. It should not win, but I enjoy it.
Mhm.
Nimona, a Netflix one with a cool animation style. I didn't actually end up watching it, but I've heard great things, and it looks really good, and it's fun. And then Robot Dreams, which is the one I'm the most interested in seeing,
Hmm.
uh, and I've heard great stuff about it, but I've unfortunately never watched it. So yeah, I sit in a place where I don't see a chance in hell. Boy and the Heron loses it, but
Okay.
the Academy, they'll surprise you.
They have their
So
way. They do
they
have
have
their
their way.
way.
So that's what
Mhm.
I have at 8, and I'm comfortable with it. So yeah.
Okay. Well, returning to an uncomfortable movie, but this is where I have Zone of Interest at 7 for
Mm.
me, and it was God damn it. It was the start
Yeah.
of a three movie day for me. I started with it. Very glad that I did start with it. But you're right. Like when you were saying, like it is one that you don't want to watch again, but I do want to watch again. It's very weird relationship I have with this movie,
Mhm.
and it's almost like I wonder if I'll notice more things upon the next watch. If certain thing, because like I noticed like a babe, like the baby would cry every single time something was brought into the house, like there was produce or something. I think like just like a bag of food and produce. Baby cried right when it was like handed off. The boat that the Hess got at the beginning. Baby's crying when it's put into it. Every time there was something there, and it was before it always showed how they got it, sort of in the first place, like through
Mhm.
the camp and everything, and so I'm wondering if maybe more things like that will stick out. Um, but just off the first watch, like it was
Dude,
just visually, I don't know, like I
every time that you watch the train go by in the background, like the smoke pillage up, like, oh my god,
it's
just
yeah,
devastating, and
like
it's extremely frequent, and that's, like, one of the things that's just, like, so gutting is it just keeps popping up. The girl in the, like, not night vision, but, like,
yeah.
the inverted
Honestly,
stylized thing they're
that's
going
the
with.
only thing I don't think I got. I like
Mm.
she was so she set apples just in the mud and like in a trail. She said she was leaving sugar for them. Like did she was leaving like food for
Pretty sure for people in the concentration camp. Like that's where they work. That's part of their um
Oh.
yeah.
Okay. Okay, cuz I thought she was trying to like lead them somewhere or something and like
Think
lead
she's
them down a
leaving
specific, but
enough
she's
for
just
everybody or trying her best to. Um
okay. That clears it up a lot more cuz I tried to think if like the guy that was drowned or whoever was drowned, I thought they were like following the apple trail and the trail was like to their house or something. And I thought it was going to be like a boy in the striped pajama situation where a kid befriends one of the,
mm,
people in the camp and then that whole thing starts up, but we never really got into that.
yeah,
But
no, I think I would need to rewatch it to say for sure because I was also kinda confused by it. I also initially did not clock that they were apples, like, it's one of those things
yeah.
where because she's in that style, it's kinda
Mhm.
difficult to tell what she's doing at all.
I thought
But,
she was planting potatoes or something at first. Like I'm like,
right.
okay, yeah, she's just planting some shit. I'm like, all right, cool.
Yeah,
But
it is what it is. Yeah, I'm
um,
like, I don't know, but, yeah, man, it's fucking harrowing. It's a good fucking movie,
mm,
and, I like it. I like The Zone of Interest.
yeah, the soul just like, oh man, I didn't like the ending. I thought that it didn't click right away for me necessarily. I'm like, is he he just got cleared by a doctor and everything, so I'm like, okay, so it's some metaphorical, I think,
not
but it
physical,
didn't it
yeah.
didn't really click. It didn't like that. It was like just he's fine, doing what he's doing
Physical,
and
yeah.
everything, but just his soul, it can't accept it, and that it is just this kind of demon like leaving. I don't know, just like it's oh my god, like what an ending to the movie, and like it's
No, yeah, it's one of the most just visceral feeling films I've ever watched. I I actually watched it from, like, 7 AM to 8:30 AM one morning and then
ooh.
went to work after, so it was
Ooh,
like,
yeah,
ugh,
no, mm-mm. Not
yeah, rough one to be sure, but,
not the best, but
yeah,
yeah.
I think I paired it with, The Bad Batch. I think The Bad Batch is what I watched that morning, and then I
Uh,
watched The Zone of Interest after, and I was like, "I
oh,
should have watched The Zone of Interest first,"
yeah, yeah.
but,
Phew. Yeah, I
yeah,
guess
no,
upon
but
rewatch,
that's a good time.
at least we know what we're getting into fully. It's still not gonna make it any easier, but,
No, no,
yeah, just a very moving movie, that's for sure, even, um, I don't know.
deeply, deeply fucked, but, I am going to go with my 7 to my very last addition to my list that I watched
Mm,
yesterday morning,
okay.
before I had to go to work. Um, this is where I have Monster,
Mm,
directed by Hirokazu Koreeda, a Japanese film that is so thoroughly influenced by Akira Kurosawa's Rashomon. We've talked
ooh,
about the Rashomon situations, where the story is told from this perspective, and then this perspective, and then this perspective, and it's beautiful. It's sad. It made me cry like 50 fucking times, dude, but it's hopeful and it's beautiful and there's just so much to love here. Uh, the story starts with a mother who um a single mother who is widowed and her son is coming home from school acting strange. He's cut his hair, he's done all this stuff. And he comes home with like a cut one day. She doesn't know what it is, so she asks, and uh, he explains. So she begins to think that his teacher, is abusing him. So we get the whole story, not the whole story, but a lot of the story unfolded through her eyes, how she sees it.
hmm,
Then we get the story told through the eyes of the teacher and how he sees it. Then we get the story told from the kid, and the kid's story is the one that like clarifies the whole fucking
mhm.
thing, and it oh my god, is it so fucking moving, it's so beautiful, it's a rare one, and
Mm.
I don't wanna talk about it too much because I don't wanna spoil what, like, the heart of that story is. Um,
The sign of a good movie, though. If you don't want to
oh,
spoil it. Yeah, that's it's a good
and
thing.
it felt so important to put something like that on screen. Like, it's
Mm.
just so oh, I loved it so much. I'm so glad I bought it yesterday, like, on a whim. I was like, "I'll probably like this."
Hmm.
Bought it 15 or 20 bucks, whatever the fuck it is on digital, and was like and I didn't know how much I would like it. I'm like, I'm so glad I bought it. I will be watching that
Wow.
into oblivion. It's oh my god, is it so fucking good, and I can't recommend it highly enough. Beautiful to look at, gorgeous score, wonderful performances. There's actually a little overlap in the cast. The mother is played by, Sakura Anda. She was in Godzilla Minus One.
Mm.
Uh, she played, Sumiko, which
Ah.
yes,
The girl that kinda lived with him, was that
yes.
yes, the not his wife, but should have been his wife, basically,
I
the girl he should
believe
have married, or
so.
the other girl that sort of took care of the baby whenever
I think she's the woman who takes care of the baby whenever, they're away.
Yukio, I think maybe might have been or maybe like a Y might have been
Noriko?
the main girl, but okay. Wow. Little
Yeah, no, it's
overlap
a
there. Mhm.
beautiful, beautiful film, deeply affecting and just I mean, it's like beautiful. That's the word I keep coming back to. So that's what I've got at my 7, Monster. Love that movie.
Okay. All right. And moving on to 6, this is one, or no, I don't think we have said it, but this is the one that I've just got in at the last second, for me, and it ended up being very, I don't know. To break 5 is really, really hard, and it was kind of actually going back and forth between the two, um, but I didn't quite get there. But this is a very different tier. This is where I have Poor Things, a
Mhm.
blind spot I had on the awards show, but I'm glad it was here for my top 10 because it is very much deserving. Oh my God. Thank you for sparing my feelings for saying or not telling me that it would have won in cinematography because after watching it, holy shit, yes, it is kind of very clear. I think there's still a debate to be had with
Oh,
Asteroid
certainly,
City,
certainly.
but man, was this just kind of
It's fucking beautiful, dude.
oh my
It's a
God.
gorgeous movie.
Is it a lens that they do that? Is that just a special
Yes,
lens?
it's
Oh,
it's a
dude,
lens,
I've
yeah.
never seen that before. That's like I don't know. It was really, really cool. But then the story too was just like, holy fuck! Man, what a way I've never really thought about how men view women in relationships and stuff, and
Mhm.
that dynamic and everything like that. And it's a situation where American fiction where people will be like, oh, it's so overplayed. That's not real. There's no way. But like, yeah,
It's
like
obviously
this,
fantasy,
like
it's obviously heightened,
yes,
but there's a very
they're.
real element to the way every man in the story operates.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Yeah.
you know all of these guys, which is, really fucked up, like, that's, in various degrees, but,
Yeah.
I love I think we're gonna have a perfect I think we're gonna have 4 out of 5 in our top 5 overlapping with our 6s being the inverse.
Okay.
Um, yeah, because Poor Things, I
Ah.
will not be saying it
Okay.
in my 6.
Mm.
Um,
Okay.
I will not be saying it in my 6, but I love that movie, and, I don't wanna cut you short if you have anything else to say about Poor
Well,
Things,
I am
though.
very fresh off of it. I guess it's Yorgos, is that right? Is that
Yorgos
Your okay,
Lanthimos.
Yorgos Lanthimos. That was the first of his that I have seen, and man, has it made me want to. I need to see like the rest of his movies now. Um,
I love him. I've only watched 2. I've
I
watched this and The Lobster. I will say, Poor Things is easily the most palatable, which is fascinating to say.
but I
Um
like that it's like Tim Burton, Dr. Seuss, Wes Anderson. It's all of these crazy people that you normally think like crazy styles, but they're all blended into this one. And I know I enjoyed it. I like the weird though, and that's
Mhm.
that I want to if his other movies are weirder, that's kind of more interesting to me.
They're different types of weird, you know? They're
Okay.
varying degrees of weird. This is definitely the most fantasy obvious giant set pieces that are like,
Okay.
"Whoa, that couldn't possibly be real." The Lobster is an interesting one because it feels like it could be real, and then they set up kind of what the story is, and you're like, "Oh, okay, so this could
Mm,
not be real," but it's commentary on, like, a real
mm,
he does that, you know, the commentary on, like, real
okay.
shit with a fascinating,
Yeah.
bizarro fucking twist. So, love Poor Things, and it is yet to be said. For me, it will be a little later, but my 6, this is where I have The Holdovers,
Okay.
uh,
Yeah.
starring Paul Giamatti, Divine Joy Randolph, and Dominic Sessa. One of the finest written films of the year, beautifully shot. I absolutely adored it. There's something so special about watching a movie and knowing you're gonna watch it every
Every
year for the
year.
rest of your life, and that's super cool, and, there's something so special about that. I found Paul Giamatti's, Paul Hunham to be one of the most relatable, sadly, characters I've ever seen in my life.
Oh.
And I mean, to a degree, also Angus Tully, you know, like,
Yeah.
there's something, just human about the story they're telling that is kinda universally relatable. There's something so just human about it, and I fucking love this movie for that reason. I've only watched it once, and I'm gonna happily revisit it, as soon as I possibly can. I can't speak highly enough about it, so it's
Mhm.
just outside
Wow.
my top 5. It was hard to put it outside my top 5, but that's just where it happened to fall. Um, so what's your 5, Joe? Give it to me. We're entering the top 5. It's a big deal.
We are here.
Where are you sitting?
We are here, and this one, we're into the movies where all of these are kind of in a tier that I love them differently than the rest of the movies, I feel like. This is a different tier. We're in a different
Mm,
level, and
I would agree.
it's hard. 3 and 4 or 4 and 5 are hard for me, placement wise. They belong where they definitely belong up here, but just where they are, I don't know. But right now, number 5 is Martin Scorsese's Killers of the Flower Moon, for me. And
The crowd goes wild. Whoa!
yeah, in a good way or in a bad way for
Yes,
too low?
same, same. Mine
Okay.
my 5 is also Killers of the Flower Moon.
Mm,
So we're
okay.
kicking off the top 5 with our first samesies, which is wonderful.
There
Uh,
we go.
dude, dude, we have a whole episode on Killers of the Flower Moon, so if you want extended thoughts, you
Oh,
can go on over there. But
Marty in theaters, an actual Marty in theaters too was a whole.
mm,
We actually got the boy. But if you take that out, take just that out. The actual movie that plays before was, man. I mean, it was just another just
gut-wrenching,
yeah, kind
sad,
of zone of
soul-sucking,
interest sort
devastating,
of
yeah.
level where it's like, ah, man, I'd maybe rather not hear about these stories, but hearing hearing them, especially in this case, kind of through the eyes or through the experiences of the people themselves. Um, we do have Leo and Robert De Niro thrown in there. A lot of white guys that are thrown in there, but
Mm,
it's this was I don't know. I think a very very touching way to tell the story that he did,
I do
and
too.
man, just one that you don't want to rewatch, but you very much do. I think you rewatch this one a
Mm.
whole lot more than Zone of Interest. It's a lot easier to get
Yeah.
back to this one than Zone of Interest.
Ironically
Um,
enough, considering it is literally twice the length of
yeah, yeah, a big one. This is a big one.
a
Um,
chonker. No, and I love it, man. I love Marty, and, this is easily top 2 Marty for
mm,
me, up there with The Irishman. Lily Gladstone is a fucking treasure. Uh, I ad I adored her and her performance in this movie.
mm-hmm,
The movie was deeply dark and just guilt-ridden and
Yeah.
terrible in the best way.
Mhm.
It's so damn good at being so damn bad. And I think there's a beauty in that. And I think that Marty he told the story the way that he would tell the story, and I think that it came out in a wonderful way. I think he's done so much with themes of eternal guilt and hell on earth
Mm.
and these sorts of things, and I think that this movie kind of lends itself to that so perfectly. Um,
Hey,
Absolutely devastating real life story, and man, is it a good fucking movie, man.
we got some goats in the game dropping movies this year. You know, we got like it's crazy that we are getting movies from these people. And I'm gonna treat everything I get from Marty very very preciously. And it was very nice that I got to see one of his movies in theaters and just I don't know. A theater does change a whole lot for a movie, and I wish I could have seen some of these other ones in a theater, but doesn't make a movie better or worse than another. But it does make you more attached to the movie. I feel just like
Mm.
you like experiencing it with other people adds a layer on top that is just sort of different than the rest. And but like I also like being very comfortable in my own home. I don't have to worry about like ugly
Mm.
crying. You know, if I wanna cry, I can cry.
Imma go. Imma let
But
loose.
in a theater, I'm a little more reserved. You know, I
Yeah,
don't care
I've
that
got
I
I
cry, but
I got a couple viewings in a Killers of the Flower Moon. I got the one in theaters. We had the pleasure of seeing it in IMAX, which was
mhm.
wonderful also. Um, but then I caught it on Apple TV at home, probably about a month ago, and it was one that was kinda trailing down my list further removed from it, not in any meaningful way. It
Mhm.
fell out of my top 5, and by that I mean 6th. Um,
Yeah, I don't think
so,
it ever
like,
went lower than that.
trailing
Yeah.
yeah, I'm, like,
Um,
trailing, it fell one spot temporarily, and then I was like, "Nah, never mind."
yeah.
That was kinda how it went. Um,
And it's always after you're fresh off of a movie and you're like, "Yeah, that beats it right now." And then you do
mm,
some thinking, you're like, "That just doesn't sit right." You
no.
know, like that's like
So
that's not right. Um,
this was at one point as high as 4, at another point as low as 6, so it was always right here.
mhm.
I actually this was my most recent last minute change, switching my 4 and 5, last night. So,
Okay.
and you'll understand why, specifically, you will understand why.
Wow.
Um,
I
but,
made one switch to my top 5, and it was the very tippy top, was a change that I made, and that was it. But everything else
I
is
went back
is
and forth between my 1 and 2 for a
mhm.
long while.
Yes, yes, it
I mean,
was
throughout months, like a several months process of me deciding what my 1 and 2 finally are, and I'm there. I'm set. It's over. But my 4 and 5, these were the 2 that kept going back and forth.
hmm,
So with that, we both had Killers of
yeah.
the Flower Moon at 5. What are you rocking with it for?
Well, we already talked about it. This is where I have, I think, the flip. Maybe different positions, but at least the one that's outside of the top 5, and it is The Holdovers for me. And
Mm.
instantly a Christmas classic. I've always sort of wanted a new movie. My Christmas go-to is Polar Express, and it's nice. But maybe I am starting to tire of it now that I have watched it for maybe like fucking 13 years now. I don't know how many years in a row
Yeah,
I've
long
watched it,
while.
but The Grinch I love, is fun. Elf is fun. I love these movies, but like this just it's different. It's in a
Different.
different it's in a different like atmosphere. Like I don't know. With this one, it's like a dead poets. It's like a movie that gets you to feel that deeply and also this coming of age story, but then also a crazy character development for the adults in the story as well. It's just
Well,
everyone
and it's crazy that we can honestly
uh
say we have a new film that joins the stratosphere of, like, Good Will Hunting, of Dead Poets
yes.
Society. Feels like those, like
Oh yeah.
the old man and the young friend and the kind of like that dynamic and the
Mhm.
learning to love each other sort of thing, like, I love that shit, dude. Um, It's wonderful. So I love that this is in your top
Yeah,
five.
it was just so comfortable, you know, and so I know it's after watching American Fiction to call something real, it feels kind of cliche now, but like, um, it is very like the acting in the movie. They feel like very real people. Like even though like he's playing such a character. Like the character that he's putting on is it's crazy, but like that teacher exists somewhere out there. I don't know. I could
Oh,
like
certainly.
that's a human that could exist out there, you know, and
Absolutely.
um but no, it was just everyone helped each other. There was no like not one character put another one down. They were all and not just in like emotion.
In the
I
main
mean, like,
cast. Yeah.
lifting each other's performances up. Like, everyone just helped each other. And it was just like I cried so much. I was so happy. It felt so fulfilling. Just so such a good watch, and instantly knowing that I will watch it forever. Like that's a
Infinitely.
it had to join the top 5 like for that.
Mhm.
Um so but yeah, The
I love
Holdovers
that.
love,
Love
man.
that.
An instant classic. So,
That's true. That's true. Yep. Fell just outside my top five. And with my four, this is my most piping hot take for it falling as low as four. Um, Four is where I have Oppenheimer. Um,
I figured. I figured the
yeah,
bomb was
yeah,
about to drop. That's okay.
yes.
That's okay.
No, I love Oppenheimer, man. I really do. And this is the one that I was going back and forth between Killers of the Flower Moon and Oppenheimer. Which do I like more?
Mm.
And Oppenheimer is just a far more enjoyable movie. It is, which is crazy to say. Um, there's just a kinetic energy to it that
Mm.
doesn't stop. It doesn't slow. It never lets off the gas. And in a movie like this, that's incredible to frame it as. There's so much going on. The legal drama and paralleling it with the actual events of building the bomb and like just a masterpiece, dude. It's Nolan's masterpiece. It's Nolan's finest work.
Mhm.
Killian Murphy is a godsend as J. Robert Oppenheimer. Robert Downey Jr. on the top of his game as Louis Strauss. Um,
Mhm.
like there's nobody in this movie who feels out of place. There's nobody in this movie who feels like they're doing a bad job. It feels like everyone's firing on all cylinders. Literally, the only guy you could even begin to say that with is the Safdie brother who plays Edward Teller until they build a bigger bomb. Mostly because I don't think the accent he's doing is where that guy is from. Um,
Yeah. But
I'm pretty sure. But even so, like it's a fantastic film about an extremely important part of American history and world history, I should say. Um,
mhm.
and it's electric. So I have Oppenheimer at four, and it's purely from a basis of when it comes to my top three, absolutely watch them sooner than I would Oppenheimer, and that's really the only justification. I would not hesitate to say Oppenheimer is the best film in my top 10 though.
Mm.
Uh, that's the other
Yeah.
side of that.
No, this list is very subjective. That is the whole shebang. And I would agree. I think even the 3 movies or the 5 movies I have below in my top 5, my 1, I feel more in those movies. The more
Mm.
emotion gets out of me. But I guess I'll wait.
You'll hold it.
We will talk about Oppenheimer, I guess.
Oppenheimer will emerge again, but yeah, I
Uh-huh.
had Oppenheimer at 4, and I'm cool with that.
Yeah. All right, 3. Wow. Now we're really getting here. We're really getting here. Um but my 4 and 5 were kind of flickering. 1 and 2 were flickering. 3 just it feels right for me. I
Mm.
don't know, it felt right. I couldn't really put any of the movies below it, above it, and any of the movies above it, below it. So it
Same
was
here.
just
Same
perfect.
here for me.
And it was my first Wes Anderson in theaters, and that's Asteroid City. It's the movie out of this list that I've watched the most. I think that's for certain. I believe it's 7. And I don't know. This one, it was number one, I believe, for a little bit. In this list, I forgot whenever I made this list. But it's been one, it's been two, it's been three. It's never really
Mhm.
fallen below there though. And it's just
Yeah.
that is just kind of where it is. And man, like doing, Wes was the guy who kicked off our director's spotlight, and we covered every movie that he ever, came out with. So that we gave him a little extra treatment. And then
It's a
seeing,
special relationship our
yes,
podcast has to Wes Anderson.
yeah,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
then seeing one of his in theaters and being there and just it was something special. And then just falling in love with the movie at home whenever it came out on streaming, it was just over. I put that thing on. I was also addicted to a game at the time where it was perfect to have like a movie on at the same time. I could actually like
Mm.
watch the movie and not be too like, usually with the game I'm way too focused on the game to even be watching anything
Right.
else to
To
give
be
it
doing anything
give it
else,
the
yeah.
attention I want to give a movie. But this game was like perfect for that. So I mean, I just cranked Asteroid City out so much. It was an astronaut game as well, an Asteroid City. It
Mm.
just kind of played
Yeah,
well.
yeah.
So like it just really worked. And yeah, like I love, Wes Anderson making an alien-ish. It's not really I would want him to go more sci-fi if I could. I want to
Right.
see what Wes Anderson sci-fi really is.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I don't know if he'll ever get there. But this was, I think, as close as he'll probably ever get. And I,
I imagine
mhm.
so. But dude, I love the movie. It's certainly I'm in the same boat. It was 1, it was 2, it was 3. Um, didn't end up landing at 3 though. So, um,
Okay.
my 3, I'm in the same boat. When I watched my 3, it was my 3. It never straddled that 1 or 2, it never went down to 4 or 5. It's 3, and that is the one that fell outside of your top 5, Poor Things.
Okay. Yeah.
Um, I I loved Poor Things, easily one of my favorite theater experiences, period. One of the most breathtaking visual
Mm.
experiences I've had in my life, especially on a screen that big and that beautiful. Emma Stone is a masterclass in it. Um, I think that, Yorgos Lanthimos is at the top of his game. I still need to watch Killing of a Sacred Deer and The Favorite. The Favorite is one that I'm specifically excited to get to because Emma Stone also got an acting nod for that.
Hmm.
So that'll be a big one. They're close collaborators, and this will not be their last collaboration either. So that's very exciting. I love
Mm.
this duo of Yorgos and Emma Stone. I think that everything this movie did. I mean, from the big performances in Emma Stone and Mark Ruffalo and Willem Dafoe to the smaller ones like Rami Youssef and Gerard Carmichael and uh, just everybody from the top of the cast to the bottom of the cast is doing exactly what they need to do. Um, I think it's so moving. I cried like 4 times sitting in that theater. I was so deeply impacted by Poor Things. We talked a little bit about the way that uh, the men have this possessiveness and this possessiveness over women, and they really fetishize infantilizing them, making them
Yeah.
babies and treating them that way, but then also resenting them when they can't be their mother, basically. And it's like Mark Ruffalo specifically in that scenario
Yeah.
being like,
And that's
"Oh, I love you," and then as soon as she's, like, being who she is, he's like, "Well, why can't you be here for me?" Like, that whole thing, like,
Oh yeah,
"Ah,
the second
Bella,
she's reading, like the second
Bella."
she's starting to sound more intelligent, he's like, "What the fuck are you like? Why are you talking nice now? Like
Mm,
you're talking well, and it's actually like it sucks. I liked it before." And like
yeah,
I guess maybe my brain's just not wired that way, but like that
no,
never
I
like that just doesn't click with
love
me. Like I don't know. I feel like I just want someone who I can talk to that's not childish. Like I want like someone who can have like I can have intellectual conversations with rather than like honestly in everything like laying it all out. I sent you a TikTok the other day of like look at this duo, and it's like her smart, creative, funny, I don't know, everything, and then him is just Spider-Man. And like
Yeah,
honestly,
yeah,
that's just like what I just want, like I'm the kid. On
that'd
like
be
that's kind of
ideal.
how I've always seen it, is like I'm the
Yeah,
kid trying to act like an adult in the situation. Um but yeah, no, this was a beautiful take, and like it made like I get, like I fully kind of get this now. Like this was made very clear to me, and like I think, I don't know, it was a kind of like multiple aspects from different movies that are all thrown in this one, like American
oh,
Fiction, who has like a really good take on the social,
yeah,
just
social side of
social
things.
side of things, and Poor Things has that. You have this really uncomfortable situation of a baby being put in a full grown woman's body, which is weird and uncomfortable, kind of like May December in their relationship and how that works.
Mark Ruffalo
And
being like, "I love you, you're so beautiful, you're hot as fuck, but this is
yeah.
my brain."
Yeah,
Yeah,
he
like
does kind of have a moment where he stops and he's like, "Wait a minute, what am I
mhm,
doing?" You know, like
yeah,
whenever she's like
ew,
like which thigh was softer or whatever, and then
mhm.
he like kind of, I don't know, was he pissed because another guy was doing stuff with her, or was he actually realizing like, "Wait, am I taking advantage of her right now?" Was there any of
Oh,
that in
I
him,
think
or
we're
is it
talking about I remember that as the possessiveness
okay?
of
So
him
he's just
being
like,
like,
really,
um
like, you're kidding? Wow, yeah, that's
like, and she's got no grasp on
mm-hmm,
normalities or the formal nature of which
yeah.
they do things. I love the sex positive, sex worker nature of it, like,
That's what I was gonna
the way
say.
that
In the
they approach,
theater, that'd be wild. Like I don't like, I'm not prude or anything. I don't like hate whenever nudity or whatever, but like just there was like some raw fucking sex, like just straight up on
oh, yeah.
like, and in a theater, that's just kind of crazy to be around
No,
other
it's
people when
giant,
that's
it's
like going on.
loud,
But
it's
yeah,
everything.
it's
Yeah, no, and
like
it was wonderful.
yeah,
I
mm,
loved the way that, they portrayed, sex with different people, and all the men she sleeps with over the course of the movie, and, like, all the
oh,
different stuff that people are into, and all the different fucked up stuff that certain men like to do, and all of it was just it was
bro.
fascinating, it was bizarre,
Who the
um,
fuck's bringing their kids to a whorehouse to teach them? Bro, like, come on. I
yeah,
mean, come on, man. That's just
yeah,
cruel,
that was
wrong,
a
you know,
different kind of fuck.
what the
Yeah.
hell? But
No, but dude, I love the title cards in between,
yeah,
like, every time we're in a new
s-
spot, the boat and
what the
the countries and
heck?
the places, and yeah, I love it.
Like,
It's a
are
gorgeous film.
I I see like a lot of like Dr. Seuss with Tim Burton,
Mhm.
but also like is kind of what I was getting. Is that kind of coming through in, you've only seen The Lobster, I guess, but, like, does that come through at all, or was this, like, kind of a
No,
crazy
this is
different take?
excruciatingly unique for
Hmm,
Yorgos Lanthimos
okay.
even.
Man, it was a
There's
really cool style, like, the
absolutely.
yeah,
Uh,
it
and
was
that's
the
why I remember talking to you about it when I reviewed it on the podcast fresh off of seeing it, and Tim Burton, Wes Anderson, you bringing up Dr. Seuss, that's another
yeah,
good one, like that sort of, visual aesthetic, certainly, and it's, the costume design, the production design,
yeah,
everything is breathtaking,
it
so
was
I
sick.
love Poor Things, I gave that thing a 5 stars as soon as I could.
Shit.
I already have it pre-ordered on Blu-ray. I'm ready to own that shit and watch it again as soon as possible, so I love Poor Things. That's at 3 for me.
Yeah, dude, after talking about it now,
One of
maybe
those ones that might be better to sit
whoa,
with.
yeah, because I mean, I was fresh off, and I didn't wanna make sure I was going to ham with it, but, like,
Mhm.
now talking through it, I don't know, but
There's some other ones though that are just hard to overcome, but I mean, for me, it wasn't, but, like, I get why you might hesitate to do so.
mhm, and now,
Top
oh,
2, baby, let's get it.
this was my battle of going back and forth, and luckily, maybe not so, I don't know, I was up randomly, I fell asleep very early, I was awake in the night, I watched The Bad Batch at 2 in the morning, and then I'm like, I'm up, it's so what the fuck am I gonna do? Like, a perfect Oppenheimer rewatch time. I need a rewatch to know how I feel about this movie. So I did rewatch it. in the middle of the
Ah,
night, and I'm glad I did because I almost didn't have it in my top spot. I did have this movie above it, but man, even after the rewatch, they're still like so
next.
close. They're just different movies. It's a completely different watch. So like even now, I'm still like I don't know what I can put above the other, but I did land, I guess, with this. It had to go one way, so it went this way. But number two for me is Past Lives, and the only rationale that I kind of went to is that I feel more, yes, in Past Lives for sure. I'm crying way more. There's way more emotion. But like there's really not like anything bad you can say about Oppenheimer. Like there's just when I was trying to find out what I did not like about the movie and like I don't know. Usually I'm one that can enjoy a movie when it's not good or it doesn't have to be critically good, but that movie is so well made that it's like a different it's a whole different feeling while watching to
Mm.
me and I don't know. It's more up my alley, but this turned me like Past Lives has opened my eyes to like just the romantic side of movies more cuz I don't know. I've always stayed away, but this was fucking I didn't think it could be this good. I didn't think a movie about some I don't know why I've always stayed away from romantic movies.
No, I mean that's a
Oh,
common thing.
but man.
I can't really remember. I mean, I was kind of brought up on romance movies. My mom loves
Mm,
romance movies, so like I grew up watching a lot of romance movies, so I've always been kind of open to that idea. It wasn't until I was like within the last couple years that I realized it's not a popular genre. It's kind of
mm,
alienated by critics. It's kind of alienated by casual movie watchers. Like it's just kind of it kind of exists in its own realm, and I never really
mhm,
realized that. I would have thought for sure critics would love the romance drum like the romance genre. I thought for sure,
mm.
especially the casual movie fan would be into the relationship dynamics and stuff, but apparently this is a little more not
I
niche,
don't know.
obviously, it's a broad genre with a lot of fans, but, it
Mhm.
slips past people, especially dudes, frankly, especially dudes, like,
Yeah,
chick flicks, so-called. Once you realize that chick flicks are fucking cinema, you're in. You are there,
exactly.
baby.
Like, even the
Um
popular ones, like Fault in Our Stars or,
Mhm.
let's what's oh my
Notebook.
Notebook. Yeah, I haven't even seen those. Like, I have
Oh,
no
you'll
clue. So,
Notebook. The Fault in Our Stars is just okay, but you'll like The Notebook.
okay. So, yeah, I don't know, maybe Past Lives, it was a it did that. It opened me up to, like, just the romance genre in general, but also just the movie itself. Like, it was instantly, like, it's not quite in Everything Everywhere All at Once, where, like, I knew it was like, "Holy shit, this is just one of my favorite movies of all time." Like,
Mhm.
like, "Oh my god, what's unraveling right in front of me?" But it was, like, almost there. Like, I'm like, "Holy fuck." Like, I'm watching one of my favorite movies that I've ever watched. Like,
Yeah.
and it is, like it's my number 2 right here, but as far as, like, my all-time list, like, it's probably in that top 10, if not very close to right outside of it. Like
Yeah.
it's up there. And I don't know, it was another one that's real. I hate using that word now again.
Well, I
But
if it helps conviction when it comes to the real thing, they're specifically talking about white people talking about black
yeah,
stories.
that's true. Yeah.
Um,
So it we
so
are in a different
real
realm.
and raw.
Yeah, we're in a
Yeah.
different realm.
That's a good thing.
But man, just the way it was written, the way like I felt like like it's sort of reality TV in the sense that like you need to know like the drama, you need to know the tea, you need to know how like I don't know, but in a way that it's beautiful and adult like the conversations that they were having were not exposition drops that were just like okay here's where the story's going this it just felt like a real conversation
Very
that
natural.
that
Yeah.
that yeah that a couple would have and I thought that that's incredible that you can write in a way that makes it feel so just
Mm.
natural and
Yeah.
but
And perform that way. Yeah, it's a great movie, and, I have it up here. I do.
I figured
But,
I
in
figured
the meantime, my
so
2, is Asteroid City.
Mm-hmm.
I love Asteroid City. I saw it on the big screen 3 times. I've watched it 6 times since then. Um,
Okay.
so I ended up, I've watched it a lot. I love this movie. Um, and there's something so special about it. It was my one until I got a better theater experience for my one. Um,
Mm-hmm.
I ended up getting to see it again, and it was just nice to see it that big, that comfortable, that loud, that no distractions. It was nice. Um,
Mm.
but yeah, Asteroid City was special first viewing. Just kind of awed at the craft of filmmaking. You know, there's so many things that I'll just never forget feeling, just smiling watching that film, kind of just like I'm so glad I'm here right now.
Mm.
I love I always talk about the Bryan Cranston narration at the beginning. Who wasn't going to be
Mm.
famous? You know, like that whole thing. I love that
Yeah.
shit.
Should I
I
be here
love.
right now?
Am
Oh,
I
yeah.
not in this?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's what. Yeah.
I'm not
Uh,
in this. Yeah, like he's just got all sorts of good stuff. Uh, Salzburg Keitel, you know, when Willem Dafoe comes in and he's just
mm.
sleep. It's it's not death, you know, like that whole thing. I love that. Adrian Brody, like all the
Mm.
small. I always talk about Jason Schwartzman and Scarlett Johansson, and I mean Jeffrey Wright. Jeffrey Wright falls into the smaller category, but still,
Mm-hmm.
Adrian Brody. Whenever he's like, Willem Dafoe asks, you know, who's fallen asleep on stage, and Adrian Brody from the side goes like, I have. He does this whole thing, and he comes on stage, and he's like, "Hello, sir," and he's like, "Hi," and he grabs Edward Norton's hand, and he stands there
Oh,
the rest of the time. Like it's beautiful. Like I don't know, and there's something so just unreal about it, and I think that's awesome, you know, like in contrast to past lives and the raw realness of, you know, an Oppenheimer even, or Killers of the Flower Moon, or
yeah.
like that's what makes Poor Things in Asteroid City so fucking special, is that they are fantastical, but they strike a chord that is real, and I think that's wonderful. So I loved Asteroid City. It came in at 2 for me
Mm.
on the year.
And just a color palette. It's nice to have a like a color palette like that. Like I understand that if it doesn't fit the story, it's not like nice to force a color palette like that, but
Yeah.
man is it just so much nicer to watch a vibrant like even with Zone of Interest, it's shot beautifully and it is beautiful, but it's still kind of muted. Like even the
It's dull.
greens and
Yeah.
all the colors, they're still muted, but like with Asteroid City, it's turned that up to I don't know. Like he turned the saturation up to
Vibrant.
max, We're fucking crank. Um so but yeah.
Yeah. I love Asteroid City. Came in at 2
Hmm.
for me. Uh,
Okay.
for the longest time this year though, it was my one, but it got bumped.
And if it wasn't clear, I guess on what my one was, it is Oppenheimer. And I think it did like initially when I watched, I put it at 1 and then it like moved around because I'm like I always kind of knew that like I watched it one time in the theater whenever we went, and then I didn't watch it until I guess when yesterday or yeah,
Mhm.
my sleep schedule's so messed up. I don't know like what
Probably
yesterday
2
and today
weeks ago,
feels
but
weird.
1, yeah,
But
yeah.
so but yeah, after watching it recently again, it was just like holy shit. Like oh my like it put me back in the theater and like remembering what I felt during the time and like I'm like seeing it in 70 millimeter was awesome. But then I don't know, being in the comfort of my own home and being able to take in every detail, and really like even I paused like or rewound at some points to like make sure like I really
Mhm.
understood what was going on and like I like fully am wrapped around the movie and got like the only thing I still don't know is if it beats Interstellar. That's kind of my only thing there, and that's how I knew is like if it's almost beating my favorite movie of all time, like it's got to be the number one for this year. And I don't know. I love Chris Nolan. He's been on my radar, and then it's kind of like every director spotlight we did. This was my first Nolan in a theater.
Mhm.
So it was just special. and I'm glad that it ended up being his best movie that he's ever made as well.
Yeah,
That was also a very nice cherry on top,
yeah,
to have. So
dude. Yeah, magnificent film. Uh, I would agree in saying it's the best picture of the year. It's just it's fantastic. Every like you said, there is nothing you can really point out that you can
mhm,
even begin to say is bad. I like the score is brilliant. Ludwig Göransson is
it's what wakes me
wonderful.
up every
Um,
morning. Can you hear the
oh
music?
really?
It's like my favorite. Like it's my favorite alarm song ever. I used to like just kind of go back
Mhm.
and forth between some of my favorite songs, but now it's just like I don't know. I feel
You wake up inspired.
yes, it's like,
Yeah.
yes, I do feel the music, Ludwig. Yes, you are making me feel the music, Ludwig. Um,
We are fucking.
yes,
Uh
of course. The
yes.
red scripts too that are coming out now and seeing how fucked up Killian's was compared to like other actors that like have theirs perfectly like in a book, even bounded in a book and like clean, and then Killian's red script was just I mean, you could tell he just tore that shit apart. Um, but yeah,
We are
they
fucking
man,
hot,
and
sweaty, a little brutal.
you said something during the award show that didn't hit me. And then when you said it, I was like, oh, wait, damn. You said you can make an argument that Oppenheimer wins every single one of these categories that are up here. And like, Best Actress is probably the only one that's clearly no, but
Because
every
there's not
single other category, you can make an argument that it wins.
Mhm.
And like, that's like, for a movie to do that is just kind of insane. Like the score is
The
like that.
editing is like it is the breeziest 3-hour
Yes.
film you'll ever watch in your life,
Oh
like,
my god.
Jennifer Lames and the like, the back and forth, that editing, it like, the only one who gives it a run for its money is Thelma Schoonmaker on Killers of the Flower Moon, because,
Mm.
like, there's a different kind of editing going on there, it's just it's they're both magnificent, and the fact that the 2 best edited films of the year are both edited by just extremely talented women is wonderful.
Yeah.
Also, the front runners being Jennifer and Thelma just makes me very, very happy. Um, but yeah, Oppenheimer, man, that's a special one. So I'm glad I'm
Mhm.
getting the top spot for
Yeah. Yeah, it had to. But I'm thinking I know what your top spot is
you.
already
Yep,
too.
yep. I'm going with my girl, going with Celine Song, going with Greta Lee, I'm going Past Lives, baby.
Mhm.
Um, I love everything about this movie. It was actually, if you recall our top 100, it was featured in my top 100, but it was after my first viewing where I had the worst theater experience of my life, so it felt like 60. Now we are talking a top 10 favorite film of all time. Uh, Easily my favorite film of the year. It takes so much talent to pull off something that simple and good and complicated at the same time, like
Mm.
the relationship dynamics and the things you have to do in your head to make everything, to decide who you love and who you want to be happy, and then ultimately deciding you want all of them to be happy. You don't know how we're going to pull that off. You realize someone's going to have to be heartbroken,
Mhm.
and maybe all of them will, or maybe just one of them will, or like all like
Damn.
an outstanding. I saw someone describe it, and while it is a great romance film, as the anti-romance film, which is a great way to put it. It subverts every expectation you have of the romance genre. It doesn't, like the way Arthur puts it in the movie with, I don't stand a chance. The story you guys have, it's a different
Mhm.
level, but that's the point of the movie, is that while it's a story to us, to them it's not. It's not a story. It's real life. It's pragmatic, and it's a real thing. And I love framing a film that way. And
Mhm.
if Celine Song doesn't win Best Original Screenplay, it depends who wins. I'll understand, but I hope she does. I hope she does. Greta Lee was the biggest snub of the year, for
That is
me.
criminal.
I mentioned Charles Melton. And I agree. Penelope Cruz also should have gotten a Best Supporting Actress nod, but for me, Greta Lee getting no nods is a travesty.
Mm-mm.
Um,
Yeah.
they just put on an ode to subtlety, just a perfect example of natural storytelling, man. And the score is beautiful. I've got it on vinyl here, and it's a beautiful vinyl at that.
Mm,
Uh, pristine, pristine white. It's
wow.
gorgeous.
I think
I love
something
it.
that just kind of clicked for me a little bit uh, is because I was still in the mind that like I don't know how she feels at the end. Well, how maybe she does go back and uh
Hmm.
fall back, but you said it's not a story to them, but it's a story to the viewer. And the way
Hmm.
I viewed it as like the happy ending is her leaving her current situation and going back with the childhood love, but that's because I was the viewer and I don't
Yeah.
know their marriage. I don't know their
Yeah.
history because they don't really show it. It is skipped
No.
over. But
Yeah.
now like I do have to
Hey,
take her words as truth because like she's speaking that like I don't know. I always had this sense of hesitancy for some reason
mhm.
in the back of my head because I wanted the story that I wanted, I
No,
think.
yeah, and it's
And
the natural story. It's a similar thing with La La Land.
yeah.
You're praying at the end that she's like, "Oh, Seb's here. I'm gonna run away with him. This is a sign. It's not a sign. This isn't a story. This is life. This is what happened. This is how it happens. It's
Ah,
Tenet. What happened happened." It's
dang.
just I fucking love
Inyun
Past Lives.
as well.
Uh,
I fuck with it so
Indian,
heavily.
yes.
Like that's just really cool. I don't know. That's just something Koreans say to seduce somebody.
8,000
But
layers of Inyan.
yeah,
Um,
that's pretty cool.
I
Uh,
I love it.
like a
You and me.
sonder ass. Like I
Yeah.
don't know, kind of like a word that I heard for the first time. That I'm like, that's just a really cool,
Love that.
beautiful word. This is a beautiful concept, idea,
Yeah.
philosophy. I guess
No,
I don't
I love
know,
it.
what to call it,
Um,
but yeah, beautiful movie. Um,
dude. But yeah, with that, we'll go ahead and run back through our 1 through 23, give you the full list real quick. But in the meantime, I'm gonna do my plugs. If you would, head to patreon.com/pennybloom where you'll find over 50 hours of exclusive content, all sorts of book reviews, comic book reviews, movie reviews, and the like. For $3 a month, you could support the podcast financially, which is huge because it costs me money and I don't make any off of it unless it's over there. Head to Twitter, follow at PennyBloomPod, follow on Instagram at PennyBloomPodcast, follow on TikTok at PennyBloomPod. Thinking we could make this episode into 46 clips, and do the thing. Um, but so it could be a big fucking we could be doing a whole lot on TikTok with this
mm,
episode.
mm-hmm.
Yeah, and the awards and all sorts of stuff. So TikTok is going to get loaded with content because of today. We ended up doing like 6 fucking hours of content on a Monday. So you're welcome,
Yeah.
listenership. Leave a 5-star rate and review and continue to download these episodes. February was a little bit of a slower month. Hoping March picks it back up. Um, I'm loving it. I'm loving our listenership, and thank you all for listening on YouTube. If you're not, I've got all my movies on display. Got the Past Live soundtrack, the Oppenheimer screenplay, Scorsese by Ebert book, all the stuff. We do all sorts of shit on the show, and you can watch it all on YouTube. Just look up Penny Bloom Podcast. But yeah,
Mhm.
with that, if you would run through your top 23 one last time for me.
All right.
Go top to bottom. Go 1 to 23. Let's do this shit.
All right. 1, Oppenheimer. 2, Past Lives. 3, Asteroid City. 4, The Holdovers. 5, Killers of the Flower Moon. 6, Poor Things. 7, The Zone of Interest. 8, Ferrari. 9, May December. 10, The Creator. 11, Ninja Turtles, Mutant or Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Mutant Mayhem. 12, The Killer. 13, Anatomy of a Fall. 14, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. 15, American Fiction. 16, Godzilla Minus One. 17, Blue Beetle. 18, Spider-Man Into or Across the Spider-Verse. 19, Barbie. 20, Maestro. 21, Creed 3. 22, Napoleon. And 23, Air.
Mine are 1, Past Lives, 2, Asteroid City, 3, Poor Things, 4, Oppenheimer, 5, Killers of the Flower Moon, 6, The Holdovers, 7, Monster, 8, The Boy and the Heron, 9, The Zone of Interest, 10, American Fiction, 11, May December, 12 Anatomy of a Fall, 13 Ferrari, 14 The Killer, 15 Bottoms, 16 Beau is Afraid, 17 John Wick 4, 18 Barbie, 19 Priscilla, 20 Joyride, 21 All of Us Strangers, 22 Rye Lane, and 23 Are You There, God? It's Me, Margaret. And with that,
Mm-hmm.
we can conclude this episode of the Penny Bloom podcast. I was Colton Robertson. I was joined by Joseph George. Thank you very much, homie.
Oh, thank you for having me. It's always a pleasure to be here.
Oh, and it's always a pleasure to have you. And remember, peace, love, and bloom, and always praise Oppenheimer and past lives.